Lewiston.
The whole idea made me feel
Good evening, everyone. It's Monday, February 6, 2023, and this is a regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. Haley.
Good evening, everyone. Please stand if you're able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item up is the consent agenda, and this consists of routine and non-controversial items previously approved by Public Works and Finance or Administrative Committee. However, any item can be removed for separate consideration by a counselor. Gina.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Maureen. Okay, Drew?
Aye.
Let's see, Julia?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Gina?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
And Haley?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed and we're moving along briskly. Come on.
Way to
computer.
jinx us on
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Way to go, Art.
Anything can happen yet. Okay, next up is the mayor's appointments, and I have 4 of them tonight. I have Nicholas Smiley Callis for Human Rights Commission expiring 12/31/2025. Gordon Wilson, Sustainable Environment Commission expiring 12/31/2025. Brandon Wilcox, Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, expiration 12/31/2025. And Ashley Toon, Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, expiring 12/31/2024.
I move we approve the 4 appointments.
Second.
And seconded by Gina. So Haley,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
and Drew.
Aye.
I'm so ashamed.
No worries. I'm still new. That
Was that I?
was an eye.
Okay. For any of those in attendance, if you'd like to pop up to the microphone, say a few words, here's your chance to speak back to the council. What just put you into the commission office?
That's a good plan.
Nice.
So my name's Nick. I just really look forward to supporting my local government and working on the Human Rights Commission is consistent with my ethos, and I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody and helping out where I can. Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Love to hear it.
Appreciate you volunteering. Please.
Last time I was caught off guard, so I didn't have any prepared remarks. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself a bit more than what was on my application. My education, experience, and vocation make me very well suited to the Sustainable Environment Commission. I am currently a senior fellow of natural history at New St. Andrews College and have taught there for almost 20 years. I teach natural history, an array of electives including marine biology, herpetology, entomology, botany, and ornithology. My primary goal is to foster and instill a knowledge and a deep appreciation for the unity, complexity, diversity, and of course, conservation of the living creation in my students. As I have found out, it has a generational impact. My former students often tell me how they are passing their love of nature onto their kids. This is right in line with my Christian faith. In Genesis, it says, God saw all that he'd made, and behold, it was very good. As a Christian working in my sphere of influence, I desire to keep it that way. My PhD is in environmental science and public policy from George Mason University. And my dissertation was on the world's greatest animal, the eastern box turtle. Reproductive ecology of the eastern box turtle. A section of it was devoted to the conservation implications that came to light through my research. As a side note, but very pertinent to who I am as a biologist, I would like to point out that Dr. Lee Talbot was my favorite professor, mentor, and friend. who was also on my dissertation committee. Dr. Talbot was a pioneer in international conservation. He was Director General of IUCN Species Survival Commission Steering Committee. His long-term ecological studies in the 1950s on the savannas of Kenya and Tanzania contributed significantly to the creation of the Serengeti National Park and Masai Mara National Reserve. He was the primary architect of the U.S. Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. He was also the Director of International Affairs of the Council of Environmental Quality, also the CEQ, and served in that capacity under Nixon, Ford, and Carter, reporting directly to them on environmental issues. He just recently died in April of 2021, but I was able to have a long, warm chat on the phone with him in the fall of 2020 as I was going to film in Kenya for our nature documentary, The Riot and the Dance. He was so glad to reconnect and excited that I was going to his old stomping grounds. He gave me some safari advice and wished me well. In conclusion, I love the living creation, and I'm committed to the environmental enhancement and flourishing of the city of Moscow. During my lifetime, I plan to work toward the beautification of green space, both public and private, but I hope to do so more by fostering a grassroots desire in my fellow citizens to implement good practices of their own accord. As I learned from Dr. Talbot, grassroots conservation is always better and more effective than top-down command and control. But I know from his example that to be involved in influencing policy is also important. I hope to add to the conversation about environmental issues to the SEC. If you're interested in knowing more of where I stand on environmental stewardship, my recent book called A Different Shade of Green lays that out. But it may be simpler to just ask me. So thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
serving.
you.
And that was Gordon Wilson there, who was nameless for a bit. And my question is, with ornithology and entomology, does that put you in the realm of birds and bees? Just checking.
But yeah.
Okay, please.
I don't know that I want to follow that. Mayor, City Council, my name is Brandon Wilcox. Joining the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, having grown up in Bend and watching a small town become large, it's going to be a continuous issue, I'm sure, for years to come. And I have experience in construction and business, and I think I have something to add. So I look forward to being a part of the commission.
Nice.
Welcome, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hooray.
Well, I didn't prepare anything, so this is going to be brief. But I'm just really looking forward to this opportunity to be involved and serve my community. But I'm personally interested and invested in this, this commission. Fair and affordable housing is something that's been on my mind. But in addition to that, I'm someone who's always been willing and eager to volunteer and be involved in my community. And this is something that I'm really ready to dive into and eager to learn everything that I can. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
serving, Ashley.
And that was Ashley Toon. Okay, on we go. Next up is the public comment, mayor's response period. So for 15 minutes and 3-minute per speaker increments, come up to the podium, name, address, tell us what's on your mind, as long as it's not before Planning and Zoning, Board of Adjustment, or on tonight's agenda. Any takers? Okay, no rush to the podium. Next up, Citizens Commission report from the Moscow Arts Commission, Megan Cherry and Lauren McCleary.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, and members of city staff. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I wanted to share with you as I'm introducing our speakers tonight, I really love putting this presentation together every year with the guidance of our Arts Commission Chair. It really is this great opportunity for us to look back at all of the work that we've done in the past year. One thing that's not in the presentation that I think is important is the Arts Commission turned 44 last year. We throw the Arts Commission a little birthday party on its birthday, as close to it as we can. The Arts Commission started in October of 1978. And I think one thing that I really am mindful of when I'm in the room with the commission and when I look at that long program history is how much energy has gone into arts programming in this city, and continues to be, just an incredible gift from our Arts Commission to the community of Moscow. And so to start off our presentation this evening, we actually have a guest speaker. Our Moscow Poet Laureate program is actually one of our relatively new programs. But what we've found is it's just a wonderful way to set the tone for arts events and special features throughout the year. So to set the tone this evening, we have Moscow Poet Laureate Stacy Bowe Miller.
Yay! Mr. Mayor, council members, it's good to see you all again. I'm reading 2 poems tonight, and it's been a hard season for our community, and so I tried to find 2 poems that both recognize pains and grief and also leave some room for hope. And I'm going to start with 1 poem of mine and then read one by our National Poet Laureate, Ada Limon. Where can we keep our sorrow? Flaking shale gray into our sleep, our palms, our open mouths. Do we hide it deep in mountain lakes or fly it out our windows like a spring flag? Oh, trespassing lavender. Oh, jar of fireflies. Oh, surprising long legs of our daughters. Give us what we need to look past grief. Give us neighbors laughing with windows open, and maybe growing glaciers or returning salmon. And give us a wildness to wing our bodies to a height where we can see it all. And this poem is by Ada Limon. It's called Instructions on Not Giving Up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greeting of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets leave the pavement strewn with confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. You're always so good at this and such a tough act to follow.
Next up, we have our Arts Commission Chair, Lauren McCleary. Lauren is an artist, an arts educator, and she's teaching the new generation of arts educators over at the University of Idaho. We're really fortunate to have her as the Arts Commission Chair. So welcome, Lauren.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Hello, Mayor
Welcome.
and council members. Thanks for the opportunity to brag about what we've been doing and review. And I do love being on the same, I do love following Stacy Bowe Miller because that means I'm in the same room as her. So forward. Our current MAC roster is on the screen, and we have just a fun group of educators, art professionals, musicians, let's see, all the things. So Cindy Barnhart, Catherine Bonzo, Kat Clancy is our current vice chair, Sue Clark, Sonia Ford, Aaron Johnson, myself, Sandra Stoops, Erica Wagner, David Wilson, and Donna Woolston. Dream team. Okay, so as part of our programming, we tally up some volunteer hours along the way, and we record those. So wanting to share those with you. For 2022, we hit the 200 mark again. So that's everyone's hours together. But we have fun volunteering, and yeah, we have great events that we want to be at ourselves. Let's see. We have a few branches of the Arts Commission, so I'll go through some of the things that each branch does. So first, the Arts and Culture Education. One of the big things this year that was kind of different was working with the ICA and being a host location for their Archipreneur program. So that meant that 4 weekends of workshops were held here in City Hall. And the participants, which were 11 artists from the Moscow region and 8 others from across Idaho, will have an exhibition of their artwork in 2023 out in the 3rd Street Gallery. Art Walk is one of the big events, and now we get to enjoy it throughout the year on the 3rd Thursday of every month, October through May. And let's see, we have some stats. So in 2021 to 2022, we worked with 51 businesses, 30 nonprofit organizations as host locations. We had 106 visual artists, 4 literary artists, and 10 performing artists, 13 culinary artists participating, and 8 street food vendors and 21 art vendors. And then that Kid Walk logo down there, that's a newer, there's always been kids at Art Walk, but now they have their special area where everything is designed for them and for the families. So that's a new thing at the June finale. So another big family favorite, Entertainment in the Park, as you can see, is well attended. So on June 30th, we had 275 people. On July 7th, we had 510 people in the park, which is always really beautiful. Our performances were Radical Rick with Extreme Science, the Mac Band, the Reptile Man, and Megan's favorite band, Eric Herman and the Puppy Dog and Puppy Dog Dave. All right, Stacy and the Moscow Poet Laureate program brought us also some great events. Unfancy in the 3rd Street Gallery. Stacy read at last year's MAC report. She read at the State of the City. She helped with a button booth at the Art Walk season finale, and then offered this other summer event, Poetry in the Park, with some of her fellow poets, and did another beautiful reading at the Mayor's Arts Award.
And isn't there a pretty cool event coming up on the 11th?
Yes. TV. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. If you're going to talk about it, then I just
I think it's on the last slide.
I love
but
it.
Yeah. Okay, and the plein air here in 3rd Street Gallery, we have been hosting the exhibit, but it's a collaboration or partnership with the University of Idaho College of Art and Architecture. This was the 13th annual year of this event, and it continues to be really popular. More people travel to Moscow just for this to participate. So this year we had 11 students participating and 31 non-student artists, and 82 artworks presented with 120 attendees at the reception. This is the list of the different exhibits that Megan has great vision for us. She works with planning opportunities for local artists, regional artists, invitational exhibits, just lots of chances for people to, have that experience of showing and sharing their artwork in this cool location. And we also have the box gallery downstairs, which offers an extra special, different experience. So I'll just point out the one number up at the top, 740 reception attendees throughout all of these exhibit receptions. All right, and we were able to celebrate the Mayor's Arts Awards in person this year, which was lovely to do again. And so during this reception, we also recognized those recipients from 2020 who didn't get that in-person recognition. So for this year, it was Root Forest LLC for outstanding contribution as a business, Jennifer Rod for outstanding achievement in arts and education. All right, Public Art Branch. We had a beautiful dedication and new piece added to the permanent collection, which is called Access by J. Casey Doyle. This is the Andrew Becker Memorial, and it's located at the ITC Sculpture Garden. These are the some of the vinyl wraps we have around town. This program was established in 2012, and each vinyl wrap is on a 5-year rotation schedule. There are 21 locations in the collection, and there will be 5 new installations in this year. So the ones you see here are at Steiner and Highway 95, Mountain View and Highway 8, and then Jackson and A Street. Another new public art opportunity that we've added and collaborate with Public Works and Services is are these storm drain murals. And what's cool about these is that it's open to artists of all ages in Moscow. And so it's meant to draw attention to what goes into the storm drains. And these are meant to last for about 4 years. There'll be another additional, there's a call going out in March for some more of these. And the portable collection. These are some new acquisitions from Sandra Deutschman and George Ray. And the collection, some program highlights for this portable collection are ongoing maintenance, which includes collection reframing to make sure everything is preserved and conserved properly, refreshing the curation of the collection in city offices, and new accessions from Palouse Plein Air, Art Walk, Moscow Farmers Market, and other private donations. Okay, so what to watch for in 2023? Continue joining us for Third Thursday Art Walks. Public art installations. There will be a new duck decoy in the portable collection, which you'll want to look for, and gallery exhibitions. And then the Poet Laureate, there is a tiny poem workshop February 11th. Yep, February 11th, right in this room. Yes, tiny poem workshop. So thank you again. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, but yeah, it's always fun to share what we've been up to.
It's fun to see what you've been up to.
It was a fun birthday party last year.
Oh yeah, it's good birthdays.
We
Good
tend
treats.
to fight over who gets to get arts and commission because of the cupcakes. I have one question. Have we been seeing pretty consistent, and this may be more of a Megan question in terms of logistics, have we been seeing a pretty consistent roster of folks applying? As I see the call for businesses to host Art Walk come every month through the chamber newsletter. Are we seeing still a pretty consistent showing of folks who are able to host?
Yeah, well, so one thing that we introduced this year with Art Walk is the option for folks to register as a season host.
Oh, cool.
And we had 6 season hosts register. So that makes it a lot easier. It's more streamlined registration from month to month for them. So we have a lot of those folks showing up on a more regular basis, but we definitely get those who are popping in, maybe every
Seasonally
other
or-
month,
yeah.
a little bit, here and there. So there's some variety, but it seems like it's definitely made it more consistent.
And same with artists, no issues, no shortage of artists coming forward.
Not
to-
in Moscow.
I love
not,
it.
Not
I
that
love
I've not
it.
that I've ever noticed in this
I
town.
love to hear it. I know. Yeah, what a joke. Yeah, that's all I have.
You have two positions open on the commission, is that right? So, yeah, we haven't had a high school person. That's one of the seats in a while. So if anyone knows a high school member that would like to be part of it's a non-voting position. And then one regular member seat vacant.
Have you reached out to the art teachers in the high school?
I do know them. Yes, I
They
can
encourage them to
put a
find
bug in their ear,
star
but yeah.
students.
So Haley mentioned something about the 11th.
Oh, yeah.
Is that one of these
That's
events?
the Moscow Poet Laureate, Stacy's event.
Tiny poem
It's
workshop.
button based again. Yep. If you want to put your tiny poem on a button. Yeah.
That's awesome.
There's a registration link in our submittable. It just closed. So.
I couldn't remember if the deadline was today or not. Sorry.
Yeah. Tiny poem too. Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, great.
And last note, thanks for Megan being a great director. of the program.
Here.
Yeah, she is.
Absolutely. You guys do a
Thank you,
great
Lauren.
job. Really good enhancement to the entire city. So thank you both very much. And you too, Stacy. So. Okay, next up is a proposed lot division and lot line adjustment for 412 and 418 Southview Avenue. Amy Henrik, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pull up my presentation here. Okay. So tonight before you, we have a lot line adjustment and a lot division for 412 and 418 Southview Avenue. Subject property is just north of Southview, as you can see here on the screen, to the east, on the eastern side of Palouse River Drive. For a little bit of context, you have the, well, maybe, well,
The arts department broke it.
pointer's not necessarily working, but just to the south is Palouse Prairie Charter School. The large development you see also to the south is the Grove Apartment Complex, and then you'll all recognize the new police.
Just for clarity,
station.
that's not Palouse River Drive, that's Highway 95.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Oh.
I apologize for that.
Good catch. Yeah.
So this is the street view of the subject property. Both lots are currently vacant. And these are the lots as they exist today, one sitting just over 11,000 square feet and one just under 12,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing to shift the shared lot line to the east and to the south, creating a new lot in the center. That would leave 412 Southview just over 7,000 square feet. 418 Southview just under 8,000 square feet, and the new lot would be 7,695 square feet. This is a survey showing what the applicant has proposed, same square footage as the previous slide. The zoning of that property is R2. In R2 zoning designations, lot minimums for a single family home are 7,000 square feet. All of these lots meet those minimums. As you can see to the west is R3 zoning designation, and then R4 where the Grove Apartment Complex is to the south. This is just for a little bit of context for surrounding lot size. As you can see, lot sizes are quite comparable to what's required for the zoning designation. If you look a little bit, I wish this worked. To the east, you'll see some lots that are in the 7,000 range, just as the lots are proposed. To the west of the subject property, you'll see a set of twin homes that are on smaller lots, and then the townhomes to the west of that are from the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust. At committee, when this item was heard, there were some questions about topography.
Yeah, thank you.
So I wanted to include that here today. These contours in yellow are 1 foot contours, and then if you can see the blue contour is a 20 20-foot contour. So from the front of the proposed lots to the rear of the lots on Indian Hills Drive, it varies between 15 and 20 feet elevation change. So as I stated, this was heard at Public Works and Finance on January 23rd. The committee recommended it for approval. And so staff's recommendation tonight would be to approve the lot division and lot line adjustment with no conditions. I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Sandra, then Haley.
Yep, just really quick on that. Amy, thanks for the topographic part. That really helped a lot. I tried to look it up at home and I was not nearly as skilled to be able to do that well. So thank you. So that helps. The other thing I was wondering too, when looking at this, not probably this afternoon, like yesterday, with that difference in elevation, I wish I had the right terminology, but how is the not evolution when things fall apart?
Yes. Mhm.
When the ground settling and runoff
Erosion?
coming. Thank you. Yes,
Erosion.
good grief. Erosion. Thank you, Amy. What does the erosion look like from that? Do you know, or did the developer know? Or are we concerned about that at all?
I can't speak to the
Sure.
erosion specifically. I think it standard in the area, and I think when a home is proposed, they're required to tie into the storm drain just like everyone
Sure.
else.
Okay.
Would you go back to that picture for us?
Sure.
So we can see,
Thank you.
the other one may have the same thing.
Which one? The
Tobo.
No, go to the next, the one you just went over. Okay, because there's some things right next to it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
My question, we got a lot of feedback from neighbors, which I really, really appreciate that we had engaged neighbors in this conversation. I'm realizing that the lot lines are numbered 412 and 418, which means there's a couple of numbers in sequence between the two. This is a big picture logistic question that will inform this question I'm asking, I promise. Who decides what numbers a lot gets when the lots are?
So when a home is proposed,
Yeah.
there's somebody in the engineering department that assigns addresses. They work with the fire department to make sure that it's all within compliance.
sequence.
Yeah.
And so I guess now I'm intuitively looking at this, and if it's always been numbered 412 and 418, there's two additional units that could be there in sequence. And so I'm deducing that it is possible that from the beginning, there had been a potential desire to add more units in sequence between there, right? Like
It's definitely possible with the R2 zoning designation. Lots are only required to be 7,000 square feet.
to have the flexibility to later.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And typically the addressing do skip to go and add in later.
Got it. Thank you.
But there was no need to change any zoning things or anything else with respect to this.
No.
So I guess the follow-up on Haley's, the fact that it's now gone from 2 to 3 is not like a surprise.
I wouldn't say so. I think in R2 zoning designation, if any proposed lot, say there was a 14,000 square foot lot, as long as they wanted to split and that the existing house were to meet the setbacks, they could split that lot just the same as anyone else could.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think to Haley's point, when this was first brought to council, there's a lot of like people that were concerned and for it. And I think there's obviously lots of opinions about it, but everything's kind of in harmony with zoning. No things are being proposed that are out of the ordinary. And I think we need to recognize that Moscow is a growing city. As such, a growing city, we're going to have to accept if you're on the outskirts of town and things have been zoned, that's just kind of how the ball rolls, if you will. And, looking further down the line, I don't know of any plans, but Southview, anytime I know we can't see it right now, but anytime it dead ends, that's going into a field right now, right? And eventually it's, at some point that's going to go somewhere, right? And so I think with traffic, I'm not saying when or ever, but these things, it's going to it's a nice neighborhood and it's become busy. And so, but I think with engineering and how we've laid out the streets, it's as safe as any other neighborhood. And so, I don't know, those are just my opinions on the issue.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to summarize, we talked about it at Public Works, and it creates a good infill project. It meets the criteria for zoning, and I think it's
probably what we need to do is continue to look for places to build homes that might be more affordable than on a 12,000-foot lot. So it's all good.
Your Honor, I move we approve the lot division and lot line adjustment request with no conditions.
Second?
And seconded. Further discussion?
Can I add one more thing, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor? And the other, in the public comments that we received, there, in addition to it being right by a school, there's a lot of young families in that area. And there was an additional response that I think we offered I'm not on Public Works, but council talked about a desire for some increased traffic control, just like keeping an eye on things with the proximity to school, which I hope helps appease some of the concerns from the residents. And my other thought is if you don't want a house in your backyard, you could also buy the empty lot. Like I understand the frustration, but infill time and again is what every affordable housing and strategic planning agency professional will tell you is important. And I feel for these neighbors. I really, really do. But I will be voting yes when the time comes. So, and I want to still encourage the conversation, people to still come and share their concerns with us.
Okay. Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
and Drew.
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Thank you,
Thank
Amy.
you.
Next up is a public hearing for a fee resolution amendment to include fees for personal delivery devices. Cody Riddle, who will present. Afterwards, being a public hearing, we'll have testimony in favor of, against, or neutral. Council will have a discussion and then a vote. So public hearing, go.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Consistent with the allowances of state code on the consent agenda earlier this evening, you approved a one-year license agreement with Starship Technologies to operate these personal delivery devices on the public right-of-way here in Moscow. Administration of that agreement will require some staff time, and so with that, we are proposing a small administrative fee of $250 to capture our cost of that service. As required by Idaho code, to establish that new fee, we do need to amend the fee resolution that you did that went into effect back in October. So the amendment this evening was properly noticed for public hearing this evening. The only change to the fee resolution is that one new annual license fee. It's listed as item J on page 17 of the resolution that was included in your packet. The administrative committee did recommend approval of this new fee back on January 23rd. And this evening, we are recommending that you conduct the public hearing and then approve the resolution adopting that one new fee in the fee resolution. Thank you.
Any immediate techno-type questions?
I have
Julia.
a question. The personal delivery device annual license fee is per company, not per device.
That's correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Drew.
And this is, and again, this could have been discussed, but this is outside of the University of Idaho. This is in the city of Moscow or
That's correct. The entire city.
entire city. Okay.
And I want to reiterate something that we clarified in the whatever committee I'm on now, administrative committee. Sorry, we just switched and I keep getting mixed up in my head that we are not able under state law to ban these devices, right? We are able to,
That's, yeah, state.
what are we able, I'm waiting for the angry email that says there's robots on my street, help me. We can't say no, right?
State code allows the personal delivery devices and allows us to regulate them or adopt standards to ensure the safety of other pedestrians and users of the right of way. So the agreement that was approved earlier this
consent.
evening includes speed limits, things like that.
Groovy. Thank you.
Okay, any public testimony in favor? Testimony against? General testimony? Okay.
They're really
Very-
cute.
Hearing none,
Let's be clear on that. Those things are
Until
really
you trip
cute.
over one.
we close the public hearing. And council deliberations, motions?
I interacted with one at the end of last week. And just to kind of reacquaint myself, last time I did it was early in my job and I was still learning what end of my pen to use and that sort of thing. So it was good. I would have had to race around it 3 times to trip over it. I mean, it's a very safe, slow moving beast. It brought my lunch nicely warm still, and it told me to have a nice day as I locked its lid. So I just can't be more enthusiastic about the cute little dudes.
Mhm.
So
Is that a motion?
it can be. I'm going to make a motion with that too, that I'm all excited about them. I move that we approve the additional licensing fee for personal delivery devices. Is that correct, Mr. Belknap?
Second.
Okay.
Unless there's a friendly amendment from Mr. Belknap.
Bingo.
Still a second. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, Sandra,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
and Maureen.
Aye.
Okay,
Thanks,
that
Cody.
one passes. Great. Thank you. Next up is a presentation of the 2022 Citizen Survey Report from Bill Belknap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure.
They're so cute.
Good evening. So for a little bit of background, 2022 marks the 10th comprehensive survey conducted by the City of Moscow. They've been conducted biannually since 2002, with the exception of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. We just did not think that was an appropriate time to be sending out licking envelopes and sending paper out to the public in general.
That's a good call.
So we did skip on 2020. The survey does serve as a benchmark for community services, as well as their perception of citizen satisfaction. It is a randomly administered survey, so it is carefully formulated and tabulated and analyzed to provide elected officials with the best means of unbiased decision-making, engaging public opinion of the community. Most of the respondents you'll see today really don't interact with the local government on a normal basis, so this is an opportunity for us to hear from people we may not otherwise hear from. So the process starts off with a selection of 1,200 random residential addresses. We then send out a letter from the mayor indicating they're going to receive a survey instrument and encouraging them to complete it and return it. We do go through the analysis and geocode all the addresses to make sure that we have a good distribution across the city. Many years ago in 2002, when we started this, we kind of divided the city up into these individual sectors, just so we could look at engaged satisfaction with services or safety in different areas of the community and analyze it in that way. For this year, the sample distribution, we had 10% in the south, 22% in the east, 14% of the selected respondents were in city central south, city central north 17, 9% for university, and north central was at 16%, and northwest at 13%. So pretty well distributed. For the survey design, questions 1 through 14 include our fairly standard city service questions. Now, some of those are multi-part, so it doesn't sound like 14. It's more than just 14 questions, but they're numbered that way. We do ask those questions in the same fashion, so we don't modify the questions every year to make sure that we're not, inducing bias, and so we can track trends over time. Questions 15 through 35 are demographic questions, typically about the respondent. And then we have 2 opportunities for open-ended questions. So questions 35 and 36 address, what you think is the most critical issue facing the community, and are there any other comments you'd like to provide the city? Our survey response rates have generally ranged between 29 and 43%. It really started off fairly high at the early years, and it's just been kind of slowly tapering down as we've gone. This year, our response rate was the lowest that we had seen. So we had 26% of the surveys were returned to us. So it was, as I mentioned, the lowest response rate. Now, on a national average, you'll see statistics on mailed surveys range in that 25 to 40%. So we have been tracking within that range. But we did see a slight decrease this year. The sample size we received, I think it was 311 or 17, provides us with a confidence interval plus or minus 5.5% at a 95% confidence level. So essentially 95% of the time, if we were able to ask everybody in the community that question, their response would fall within 5.5% of what was reported in the survey. So really, to get a more precise sample size, you almost need to quadruple the size of the sample. It really becomes less sensitive as you get much larger than that. So this has been a fairly good balance for us over the time. To the greatest extent possible, the questions are presented on a 5-point Likert scale. So really it's excellent, good, neutral, poor, very poor, or don't know oftentimes. It allows respondents to evaluate their level of agreement or disagreement with a statement. And then many of the questions are also converted to a 100-point scale, just for us to be able to easily track over time the score of a particular question. So if you look here, starting off with quality of life in Moscow, and we have this is kind of a compound question. You have quality of life in general, that's the blue bar. And then the orange bar is quality of life in your specific neighborhood. And you can see over time, it has trended upward for the most part, and quality in the neighborhood, especially since 2012, has continued to trend upward. You do get a little bit of noise through the years, but it overall has been trending.
Can you remind me
upwards.
when this got mailed out? What time of year?
This would have mailed out about September-ish.
Okay.
So normally, and I should have said this at the very beginning, I wanted to acknowledge Taylor Riedner's work on this survey this year. We oftentimes are rushing to get this out just before the holidays. We actually got it out in September this year to get well ahead of the holidays. But Taylor did a lot of good work on this survey. So I wanted to recognize her as well. But yeah, so it was sent out in early September.
Thank you.
So you can see the 2-year moving average, which are the dotted trend lines, again, showing really quality of life over since at least 2006, trending upward through the course of the surveys. We then shift on to how respondents rate Moscow as a place to live, raise children, and retire. So you see the blue line in the middle is a place to live, place to raise children is the green line on top, and then a place to retire is the orange line on the bottom. All of those three really since 2004 have been trending upward and continue to do so every year. And especially the place to retire has seen fairly significant increase in scores over the last 10 years. So continuing those good trends. We also asked questions about a number of community characteristics, overall appearance of city, quality of schools, opportunity to attend cultural activities overall. We did have air quality this year was kind of unusual. That was the lowest score that we had seen in the survey. Now the highest was 75, lowest 69, so it's not a lot of variation. And we really didn't have a lot of fires this year. We actually had very few days last fall or summer that were really smoky. That tends to be what impacts it for the most part. So it's kind of a surprise to see that this year. We also saw access to affordable housing, the lowest score, a little bit wider range there, 46. It was the high that we saw in 2018, dropping down to 35 and 22. That's probably not surprising given the real estate trends and the price of housing. So that I think that tracks. Openness and acceptance of community towards people of diverse backgrounds was also our lowest year this year. We had a score of 63 compared to a high of 70 in 2018. Or actually, no, the high was 2014. I'm sorry, 77. So we're just showing 18 to 22, seeing that trend. So we did see some decrease in trends for air quality, access to affordable housing, and openness and acceptance to the community towards people of diverse backgrounds over the last surveys. General safety. So we do have questions related to safety. Blue is how do you feel safe from violent crimes up top. So the higher the number, the more safe a respondent's feeling. Again, that's held fairly steady, probably from 2006 on. We've seen an upward trend overall. Safety from fires is kind of a unique question in that drop between 16 and 18, whether they felt safe from fires is kind of interesting. And then property crimes is the orange line on the bottom. Certainly people feel like they're at greater risk of property crimes than there are violent crimes, but the safety trend from 2006 and on has been heading upwards. So people are feeling more safe. Again, perceptions of safety, we dive down a little bit more deeper in your neighborhood, which is the top line there, fairly flat. In downtown areas, again, fairly flat. In parks outside your neighborhood, which is the kind of middle greenish line there, kind of has been fairly static, although to take a little tick up from 18 to 22. And then the dashed line is with current levels of street lighting. Again, no real significant trends, just a little bit of noise over the course of the years. Perceived problems. So a low score here indicates a perceived problem and a high score indicates something that's not perceived to be a problem. So you'll see traffic, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. We did see some of our lowest scores showing up as taxes this year. So 2022, we had a score of 62. The highest score that we saw in that category was 72 in 2010. So that showed up as being something that was perceived as an issue. Growth was perceived as an issue, although it didn't change. Well, no, it's right there in 22. So our highest score was in 2012 at a 74, and we saw 56. Interesting that we actually haven't. There's a perception of growth, right? We've been talking about subdivisions and development, but there really hasn't been much in the way of homes constructed. Population hasn't been growing dramatically, and our housing starts have been fairly flat and below historical averages. But I think just the conversations about development happening in the community make people perceive. The other thing is we've had larger student classes at the U of I, so enrollment has been growing at the U of I. So you see more people, more maybe less skilled drivers in town. I mean, people have a perception of that happening as well. We also had our lowest score for domestic violence, which is interesting too. Again, we got a 59 this year compared to a high of 68 in 2008. And so we did see on the other side, we got a high was loitering youth. So of all the scores, we hit a high in 2022 of 88 as compared to our lowest score of 79 in 2012. So just show a little bit of there. We asked questions about people's perceptions of growth in both jobs, business retail growth, and population. And you can see that factoring over here. So we asked the question if it's too slow, just right, or too fast in those categories. So population growth is the blue. You can see more people feel that it is too fast as compared to 2016. So you look at 2016, the blue bar is tallest in the just right category. So they thought population growth was just about right. And as you drop in here to 2022, now you're only about 45% think that population growth is just about right. And you're seeing too fast. 45% are saying growth is too fast and just right is less than 40%. So you're seeing this trend towards historically, we've had business and jobs growth have always been reported as being too slow. And people like to see that. Now it's kind of balancing out to more too slow to just right in the business and job growth, and population growth is trending towards too fast. Quality city services overall. So this is going from 2012 to 22. The amount of public parking, that has always been relatively low. We were 48 in 22. Looks like the highest score we had was in 2012 or 2014 at 55. So not a lot of variation there. City parks have held pretty solid. We hit a high score of 84, which is the highest score we've seen. Cleanliness of streets at 71, again on the high range. Ease of car travel was held pretty static in that mid to low 60s. Emergency medical services have been held across there in the 80s. Law enforcement of traffic, again, pretty solid in the mid to lower 60s. Fire services, again, 83 almost across the board most years. Garbage collection, we did see a drop from 18 to 22, from 80 to a 75. And then handicap accessibility, which is, there are a few questions we get more than 20% either non-response or don't know. So we do note that in the report because that does reduce the reliability of that response. But again, that was at 61 this year. Continue on. We've got library services, park maintenance, planning and zoning. Again, most of them, no significant real trends happening and fairly consistent with past scores. But all of that is in your report as well. You can review at your leisure. We also have questions about value of services. So how do the citizens feel about the quality of service versus the fees that are charged? Garbage collection's been holding right in the low 70s. So people are fairly content with the value there. Water services been holding, it's varied between the upper 50s, 59 to 66. So we were second highest score this year. Sewer services again at 70 and Parks and Rec programs at 73. It's been holding pretty much in the low 70s most all years we've asked the question.
Water services as in me having water, like
the quality of the water for
Okay.
what you pay for it.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. I was like, okay,
Yep.
nope, that is a low score and wasn't expected, but that helps.
Well, I think, and can be one of the more expensive services, especially
Mhm.
the outdoor irrigation.
Right.
So a couple times, maybe we're asking this at the end of the irrigation season, summer.
Front of mind.
Maybe some people have had some pretty high water bills because they've been irrigating or watering. Maybe they're less satisfied with the value.
Or
that
they
they're
think it
receiving.
tastes bad is the most common one I hear is tap water tastes bad.
Mine tastes bad.
So we asked, as I mentioned, interactions with city government. So we
Mr.
ask,
Bill, I have a question about this. Is this out where the citizens can see it yet?
we'll get it posted. We're reporting to the council tonight, then we'll post it on the administration website.
Awesome. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
And it's in the council packet tonight as well on the
Right.
website.
I just,
But we'll get it posted. We have all the prior year surveys on administration's website, so we'll get that posted up here shortly as well.
thanks, Bill.
So you ask how often have they accessed council agendas or notices or other information from our website? So you see 56% once or never. So, fairly low interaction there. Read a legal notice in the newspaper, again, about the same, 54% once or never, 14% twice. Attended a city committee or commission meeting, 88% once or never, 6% twice. Provided any oral written testimony at a public hearing, 96% once or never. Contacted the mayor or city supervisor regarding city policies or process, again, 88% once or never. So, I mean, these are really folks we don't hear from on a regular basis. Contacted city staff, again, 77% once or never, 14% twice, or watched a council meeting on TV, 83%.
Can I ask, moving forward, I do wonder if it's phrased on TV, most people I know watch it on YouTube now. So I was the changing medium. I don't know if we're losing,
And
although
you'll
based
see
on
a
these
trend
numbers, I'm
here.
guessing there's not a whole bunch of people. who
And you'll
would
see here
answer.
on the next slide, we got a few of these trends plotted out as well. Oh, sorry, hit backwards.
Oh, I see. It is
So you do
suggested.
see this interaction with the city government. So the top line, so a lot of people used to hear most about city business activities by the newspaper, which is the top gray line. And you can see how that's on a decrease. You can then see the middle line there is our website, and that is growing. And then the green line that's growing more dramatically is social media. And we didn't have a very strong social media presence, didn't start asking that question until 2016. But you see that is continuing to grow. And then the others, whether it's cable channel, very low. That's the yellow line that's showing the dip down.
Is that how you spell cable?
No.
Okay.
Nope. You got a
Sorry,
typo.
just-
No, good. As well as by the phone is fairly decreasing, or in person is fairly flat. So, you definitely see the print media dropping off, website and social media definitely growing over the last few years. We also asked how they feel with the direction of the city. So the overall direction the city is taking, we had a score of 63 this year. That's second only to 2016, where we had a 65, and it's consistent where we were in 2018. I'm well informed about major issues in the city of Moscow. We had the highest score we'd ever had there at 61. That's good to see. The city government welcomes citizen involvement. Again, we had the highest score over the course of the survey history there at 69 this year. The city considers citizens' opinions in their decisions. Again, the highest score we've ever had is 66. And I'm well informed about city processes and procedures. Again, the highest score at 57. And the city provides adequate access to public information related to governmental activities. Highest score we've ever had at 65. So all of those are trending in a good, positive direction.
It's kind of funny though, that it's like nobody reads any articles, but they're really well informed.
Social media,
How does
telling
that
you.
work?
Just watch our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So you can see the trend of all of those questions over since 2004 and beyond. Again, continuing to trend upward for the most part. So the open-ended questions. So as I mentioned, we had two open-ended questions. What do you think is the most single challenging issue facing the city of Moscow? And if they had any other comments or suggestions they'd like to provide. So we just kind of categorized them because they tended to fall into these categories. So lack of available and affordable housing, a religious presence in the community, declining aquifer water supply, rapid population infrastructure growth, increased property taxes, increased downtown highway entrance traffic, lack of parking downtown, street and sidewalk maintenance and condition and funding of public schools, and pedestrian and bicycle safety were the items that made the list this year. So just a quick run through on the demographics. So we do ask if they're employed, not employed, part-time or full-time. For the most part, respondents, 53% of the respondents are employed full-time, 32% are not employed, and 15% are part-time. We also ask if they're enrolled at a local university. You can kind of see the trend that we've gone from 71% that were not enrolled to 88%. So we're getting fewer students responding to the survey. And you can see that full-time enrollment, which is the gray line, dropping down from, in 2002, 25% of the respondents were full-time students, now down to 10%. That's probably the percentage of responses that we're not
actually
receiving
turning them
anymore.
in. Yeah.
Right. We're just not getting them from that age group.
Also showed up on the university participation from that segment of town.
Yeah. And that's always been kind of low, but this year it's been a trend that's been going now for the last 10 years that we've seen this, or actually 20 years, this decreasing response from students in the survey. If we look at the respondents' residency, how long had they been in the community? We've always had a high representation of those that have been in the community for 20 years or more. So we had 38% of respondents this year in that category. And then it's fairly well distributed from there on down, from 11 to 20, 6 to 10, 2 to 5, and less than 2. So pretty good distribution there. But we've always had a strong contingent of respondents that have been here for 20 years or more. The respondent age is also pretty well distributed. So you can see 75 and older was 10%, 65 to 74 is 21, 55 to 64, 15. So pretty good distribution across all age groups. So that was good to see as well. Household income, again, less than 25,000 is about 14%, 25 to 50, 24%, 50 to 99, 34%, and 100,000 or more for household income was 29%. So again, a pretty good distribution across different income levels for the respondents as well. Education level, we've always had a high education level. I mean, we're a college town, so we had 42% had graduate or professional degrees, 26% bachelor's degrees, 8% associates, some college at 18%, and high school diploma at 6%. So that just kind of shows the educational attainment of the respondents as well. And then we also do ask questions about transportation. Motorized vehicles has always been the highest, and this actually was our highest year, only by 1%. So 78%. That was the most common transportation mode they used to go to work. Bicycle held pretty steady at 7%, walking at 6%, work from home. That one's the highest, which isn't unusual. We've kind of had that shift, but again, only by 1% over 2010. And other means was held at 5%. So it kind of shows you that. And that is it. Sorry, I had to run through that fairly quickly. I was trying not to take too much time, but
Yeah, I was just wondering that myself. Is that a swim?
don't know.
Take the bus.
Dog sled?
Scooter, yeah.
Oh, bus.
Scooters, motorized.
A motor, yeah.
Yeah, bus could be.
Sandra,
So I should know the answer to this. I'm sorry that I don't. When you're sending out the surveys, do you send it just to a household or to how many people in that household?
No, just one survey instrument per address.
Okay.
Do you do any follow-up, like
We did a reminder
like
letter.
a reminder?
Yeah. Yep, we did.
Was there anything in particular that was a surprise to you this year?
No, I mean, just it's good to see the trend, you know, as far as people's perception of quality of life as a place to retire, continue to improve and raise children and overall quality of life. I mean, those obviously are things we want to see continue. Overall, pretty high level of satisfaction with services. Certainly there are areas that always are going to get rated a little bit lower than others. But there was nothing that was exceptionally unusual this year.
I have two questions. One, I'm also wondering if just people aren't as gung-ho about paper surveys. And so but I'm also about to ask if it makes sense to do have volunteers do an in-person collection of data. But I'm also guessing there's people, you know, who just won't answer the door if we come knocking.
Yeah, in person, I mean, obviously it's much more costly to do the in-person collection. We've always stuck with the mail survey so we aren't creating any bias and excluding maybe a senior population that doesn't have access to a computer, maybe not feel as comfortable. That is something we'll probably reevaluate over time as more and more surveys are done that way, but we are trying not to, you know, have some bias introduced into the selection of the sample based on access to technology or a computer. And so we have stuck with the mail survey instrument. To try to do 300 or 400 in-person intercept surveys would be difficult I mean, we'd have to go to all 1,200.
Right.
And see how many would actually answer the door and answer the questions. It would take some time to work through the survey instrument at the door. And so we tend we've not taken that approach.
And do we provide I've received a couple surveys that I would have thrown out otherwise if they didn't have like a single dollar bill in the inside. Do we do any
so
incentive?
That's something we can take a look at. We have never done that. There is a study that looks at the impact of these different actions, like the letter, the follow-up, putting a dollar bill in it, and the percent increase. The dollar bill was maybe a 3% increase in response rates. So, you know, that's $1,200 with 1,200 surveys. And so we haven't
With the chance of some of them getting shredded and not actually, but yeah.
So we've chosen not to do that at this point in time because our response rates have always been good. We're kind of trending, we have been trending down and now we're at the lower-ish end. We're still getting the sample size. All it really tells us is, you know, how precise of a response and what can we infer from that based on that sample size. So that confidence interval at the confidence level, 5.5%, you know, historically, we've probably been 5.1% with our sample sizes. Dropping a couple tenths of a percent probably isn't a big deal. It's still pretty reliable. So as long as we understand what that smaller sample size means and what we can infer from the data, I think
Still
we're
hitting
doing
the mark.
okay without the additional expense. It's an expensive venture already because we're sending out,
Yeah.
postage to 1,200, postage paid envelopes for the return. We have streamlined it, thanks to Taylor. We have a bulk mail return. It used to be we put a stamp on every of the 1,200 envelopes. Now we just run it through the machine, and we only get charged if they put it back in the mail.
Cool.
Now we do get a lot of utility bills back in that envelope sometimes without the survey. So people are creative, taking advantage of that, but it's only a few. Sometimes we get the utility bill and the survey instrument in the envelopes. That's great.
Efficient.
But overall, I think if we start dipping below 25%, then we may want to take a look at other means and strategies to try to increase response. But so far, I'm comfortable with where we are.
One last one, sorry. So I asked about timing of when this was sent out. And so if it was sent out in September before the murders happened in November, I understand there's an impact to bandwidth for staff. I'm really interested in asking those specific safety questions again while it is still timely. And maybe that's a bigger conversation to have at a different time. But I'm really fascinated to know how our community is feeling since there has been an arrest, but I am intrigued to know. I'm thinking that by 2024, if we do this again, we may not actually, I'd be interested to document if there is a dip, because by 2024, we may not, it may be far enough in the past that we wouldn't see honest answers, but I don't know. But so that's
This
open-ended
question is, what would
musing.
you use that information for? What would you do?
I would want to know if there's additional extended outreach we need to be doing, I guess, from a city perspective to make sure people are feeling safe. If it is, and I guess in terms of like the lighted pathways and stuff, I'm wondering if people are thinking about those questions differently than they were if they answered in September.
There in fact is a program at the end of the month.
Yes, the town hall,
Right.
the safety
And
town
so I
hall.
think that is as timely as you're going to get, and they take so many different, they have the police, and they have just a
The
lot
county, U of I,
city,
PD, city, yeah.
and developers, I think, that are
Mhm.
villagers and stuff, and ASUI people, I think, as well. And so there's a whole spectrum of people that are going to be answering questions, and it's pretty clear what the questions are. And I think we probably don't need to do it again because it's going to go on now, which is very timely, and it's such a broad band of trying to get people out there. So it's more important to get people out there.
I have two things. I think that we might be hasty in thinking that the trial will be over by 24.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think that we maybe need to not get our chickens in that basket just yet, or eggs in the basket just yet. I think, however, this kind of declining, and it's not, we're not talking precipitous drop in how many people are returning these, or citizens are returning these surveys, but I do think it does beg the question about how we reach our audience. And if we are, if we see it again the next time through or something, I think it's time to take stock, similar to what our newspapers are doing. You got to figure out how to do service provision in a different way. And so I do think it begs the question to just start thinking about it. I don't think there's any new science at this point, but I do think maybe an electronic version, maybe
QR code with a digital.
yeah,
submission.
something
Sure.
that would give us some.
to answer them.
Drew,
Yeah, that was my comment of a hybrid system of, I understand not targeting people that might not have technology, but QR code where they can scan, I think it'd make it easier on city staff to collect it by having that. But also if it was sent to them by mail, they could scan it by phone and then fill out by phone or send it back in, whatever they're comfortable with. I think to me merits maybe, I don't know. I would have, maybe it's just me, but I don't send anything in the mail. I recognize that's kind of my demographic. I don't know where to buy a postage stamp anymore either, but I'm kidding. I do. I just sent something
I can
today.
help you with that.
Yeah. But I think maybe, especially if we're seeing low samplings from like university students, that might be a way to reach that, even though they're, not here. And then my second comment was, to what Julia pointed out, I think it is interesting. People are informed, but people aren't finding information, or they don't know that the study right there. At farmers markets or city events, is there I won't say a kiosk, but a sign where people can just scan at the farmer's market. Again, I know it's a QR code, it's technology, but where it can lead them to like the Instagram page, like the Facebook page, to kind of get that out there. So they feel more, and maybe we have that and I'm just ignorant to that.
I'm not aware of us using QR codes. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened at events, but I'm not sure that we do that on a regular basis. But again, we'll have a communications manager we will be bringing on board this year, and that could be a good project for that individual to work on.
Okay.
Sandra.
Just to tap onto that, we had a slide up there that showed that people like to retire here, and that was a very high response. I know a lot of seniors that will not do a QR code. They may not even have, I'm not even laughing at this. I mean, I don't like them either, quite honestly, right? I rarely do a QR code, but I'm thinking about seniors that are out there. You really have, if you want that opinion also, we really have to be careful because not everyone's doing the technology. They don't want to. It's hard. It's frustrating. You get on a screen and it pops off, and it is frustrating. And so you have a high group here that says, yep, this is a great place to retire and we like it. And I'm afraid you're not going to get the response if you go too far the other direction.
Well, and we'd provide both methods if we're going to go down that
hybrid.
road. We'd have to, and we still have to mail the instrument. We don't know who's receiving it. We don't know if it's going to be a student or if it's going to be a senior. So we'd have to provide both methods. We'd have the postage. So we wouldn't, we're not going to say if we're going to pay the postage, maybe they won't return use it, or maybe they'll use it for the utility bill, but we certainly can provide an opportunity. We do color code them so that we can do the analysis by sector. So we'll have to work through that QR code and make sure it gets keyed into the sector that they're in. We do try to make this the only, this is anonymous other than it's color coded to know what sector they're in. So that's something we might have to make people comfortable with if it's QR coded, that we're not drilling it to that specific address. The return envelopes in the instrument are, other than color coded, there's no identification on it. So it's not, we can't tie it back to an address that, left a nasty comment and feel like they're going to get their water turned off or something. Right? So we want to keep that anonymity protected as well.
Okay, now.
Okay, so just a couple of things. One, I would say, look at those demographics and age group pie chart up there, because it doesn't show a huge bias towards older people that actually use the mail, like me. But so I don't know that this whole discussion is reflecting the results of the survey. But the other thing I would say is that we have a community full of survey researchers who I'm sure could give anybody advice on newer methods to get a higher response rate. Having been a survey researcher for half of my career, I would say that dollar method was developed in the 1970s by a professor over at WSU.
No kidding.
So yeah, his name was Don Dilbert. But anyway, super old method. Who knows if it actually works anymore? But instead of survey research by committee here, we should probably reach out to some great
we've got
experts at the
2
university.
more years to think about it.
Yeah.
And so I think the bigger focus is on the results of the survey itself. And we've got 2 years to figure out what we want to do differently next time.
Nice.
All right. I move to accept the 2022 Citizen Survey Report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Drew,
Hi.
Haley,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
and Julia.
I already voted.
Gina.
Did I get two?
Yeah.
Wow.
Get to vote
Agree to
twice.
you.
Oh, yeah. Let her vote for me.
Okay,
Aye.
okay. That's accepted. Great. So don't run off, Bill, because now we're up to the legislative travel and meetings budget discussion.
So this is a real quick item. So we do every year budget funds in the legislative budget that covers the council's activities for travel and meetings. That budget had been reduced beginning in 21 due to the pandemic, and had been held at 21 for both 20 and 22, and actually in 20. So it was higher in 20, but for 2021, expenditures were about in the 6,000 to 7,000 range. And again, that obviously was impacted by the pandemic. We budgeted the same 10,000 in 22. And at the time we were developing the 23 budget, we had expended about 6,000 out of that budget so far. So we kept it at 10,000 as we moved into the 23 budget development. We're now post-COVID, and we've had a very involved council, active council that's been going to the AIC City Officials Day at the Capitol, the summer conference, and we have 2 members who would like to go to the National League of Cities Congressional Conference meeting as well. So the budget as set in 23 won't support that, but we do have 20,000 in the council's non-prioritized projects line item that we could allocate to that effort. We'd still spend it out of the travel and meetings, so we're tracking the expenses in the right area, but we just would not expend. And that is always at the council's discretion of how to use that 20,000. If something comes up that we weren't aware of at the time the budget was formulated, there's some amount of money for the council to have some discretion with. So that would be my recommendation for this year. That way we'd be able to fund all the council's attendance at City Officials Day that happened here in January, as well as the summer conference and attendance at the 2 National League of Cities meetings. So I'd like to have the council's direction that we can do that. Then we can go ahead and get the travel scheduled.
Can you tell me what historically the non-prioritized projects have gone to?
So, it's varied a great deal. It has not been used in the last 2 fiscal years. I think the most recent use I want to think was the Sojourner project, where they had, they encountered a project, there was some rot and some water damage they needed repair. So the council's allocated funding for those types of projects periodically. I'm trying to recall if we've ever done anything out of the recovery center, but typically it's oftentimes been social service nonprofit organizations that have a specific need. And oftentimes there were one-time type capital expenses. And I think the most recent that I can recall was Sojourners, where it was a contribution to help with repair of a housing unit. But it's not used very frequently.
I'm open to it. I would love to hear if the council members are interested, if this March conference does come together, to have a presentation to council, kind of like we hear from the commissions. I'm super fascinated by what could be the big takeaways from that event, and would love to mooch and glean. So I'm comfortable with the shift and would be curious to know have we sent anyone to this particular?
Yep, I think it was
city?
2 years ago,
National League of
2021,
Cities.
I think.
Actually, 2020 was the last one, like 2 days before the pandemic slammed down.
Yeah. And so those who have been, if those who have attended believe there's ROI, I would be happy to send council folks to go and would love to hear from them at a.
No, not a bad idea to have a report afterwards.
If nothing else, some selfies with whoever you met, like a map of,
Senator Risch.
yeah, whoever you got to visit
The
with.
picture
Yeah.
with him, that's all. I've struggled with this one because I've been on this trip to the National League of Cities, and I will say that I didn't get the huge value from it. And I would rather, because our $20,000 doesn't go very far, I would rather that we keep it and actually use it more directly to benefit the citizens, not to pay for travel. But, no, not but. That's my feelings on it. Nothing but.
I guess I understand that. I guess I think we should start looking at whether or not they come back, they give a report, the report was up or down. And if we get a pattern of saying that the next set of people don't get anything, it's not really anything out of it, then we can really say, hey, let's cut this budget down and put less money into it, and it may not be valuable. But I think this year I would vote in favor of letting it happen.
And if the budget level where it is really just a reflection of the pandemic. It should have been 16, 18,000 this year. That's what we budgeted prior to 21, and hotel rooms and travel expenses have only grown. So it really was partially staff just carrying the past historical forward, not anticipating that this year when we put the budget together. And so that really is the cause.
Some years are good, some years are not. I move to approve the allocation of $10,000 from the legislative non-prioritized projects, line item 10101067016 for council travel expenses.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, Haley,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
No,
Maureen.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Okay, on to reports. We haven't had reports in like into forever. So, Maureen,
On January 2nd, we had a URA meeting and they agreed to allocate $125,000 for capital spending to support the streets project near, for First, Llewellyn and Lily Streets. That should be done this summer. And I would also point out that previously the URA had committed $275,000 to that. And so just expensive, gotten higher and higher all the time. But it looks like a great project, and I'm thrilled that they decided to support it.
Gina.
Okay, let's see, I'm trying to find the date. January 11th, the Planning and Zoning Commission, wait a minute, that's not the correct one. While we were down in Boise this last time. Yeah, I called in and the Planning and Zoning Commission is doing all kinds of great work, and this is not the right report, but they met and they did amazing things. And those people do have these meetings every other week, and they're amazingly done in an hour. It's amazing to me. And they're big packets. I also tried to get into the Historic Preservation Commission and was stymied by my technology. No matter how many phone calls they made to me or I made to them, it just wasn't going to happen. So I got to miss that one. The Tree Commission meets tomorrow. Yay! I can't wait. I'll be able to tell you about that soon. And then Planning and Zoning meets again on Wednesday, and I will have a report for you then. And Victoria is mouthing something to me as we speak because she's our planning. They'll meet Wednesday. So
Say that again.
So
for those of you who can't hear Victoria's sultry voice telling us what's going on, Nils Peterson with the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust will be making a presentation to Planning and Zoning about affordable housing. And so you are welcome, and I highly recommend it because not only is it informative, but he's actually entertaining. So 7:00 Wednesday night here, be there, be square.
Like, since she did that already, Nels Peterson seems to be on a circuit right now because he also spoke at the URA about the history of the URA and what was happening on 6th and Jackson.
Okay. Julia.
Nels Reeds, I'm sorry.
Good?
Yes,
Okay.
I hope.
Well, I attended the Arts Commission meeting as that is my new appointment. And they have lots of things going on, as they mentioned tonight, but just wanted to say they have the RFP out for the storm drain, little murals, for the wraps, for utility boxes, for the farmer's market poster. So they have lots and lots of things going on. And was also able to attend their third Thursday Art Walk in January. And that was great, well attended at the co-op as well as in this building. And we all attended AIC in Boise and listened to our governor and a few legislatures talk about taxes mostly.
Indeed.
That's all I got.
Me or the,
All the way down.
all right.
Let's see. So on the 10th of January, had my first Pathways Commission meeting, which was fun. We had some just curious members of the public who attended and were asking questions, which was super fun. So always drop in if you want to know what your folks are working on. And then last Wednesday, we had, after a long hiatus, our first city, county, university stakeholder luncheon, breakfast. It's at 7 a.m. I should remember. And it was nice to have everyone back in a room and visit about that. Smart Transit. We've got our executive director, and so we've been working with Andy Severson as she gets as she takes the reins and charts new course for our free public transportation. And then I was just going to make a light plug. The keynote address from the Boris Symposium at the University of Idaho that was delayed from September due to unexpected something or other is happening tomorrow night at 7 p.m. It's with Prince Said bin Rad Al Hussein, who is the former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. The Boris Symposium is one of the reasons that I stayed at U of I after being a Moscow kid. It's really an incredible program, and I'm excited to hear it tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the, I want to call it the Pit, but it's the Pittman Center. So the International Ballroom. And then I'll let Art fill in the blank for when State of the City is, because I don't remember what the date is.
15th.
The
Ides of
15th.
February.
Yeah, so next
Oh.
Wednesday, I'm looking forward to attending the chamber event where we get
That's
State
the
of the City.
1912 this time, not.
Yes, not at the Best Western. Yeah. So that's what I got. Sandra?
Wow. Goodness sakes. I thought I had stuff going on, but apparently not as much as some other folks do. I had a PBAC meeting, which first one that I've been able to be on as just not an observer. So it was great to meet with those people and get different reports on wells and water and what direction we're headed in. There's not any late breaking news on that, but it's nice to be a part of that group and to figure out some directions. I had a 1912 development meeting, and there were some pipe breaking issues, but those seem to be fixed. It was messy, but it's okay. I'm happy that no one really knew about that, right? That means it wasn't flooding and gushing out the doors.
Yeah.
So hats off to Jenny Kostroff for getting that taken care of, and it was a big surprise. And aside from that, they're also just working on their fundraising for the third floor that hopefully everyone's been to the relatively new second floor area and enjoy that. And now we're getting ready for the third. I had a really enjoyable time at the Moscow Charter School. I got to talk to Ms. Bonzo's fourth grade class. And that's probably my favorite thing right there. We're talking to scouts about what city government does and how great the city of Moscow is and how awesome it is to have students participate. So I had a really great time with that. And then I know most people were there, but no one has said it yet. So yay, Winterfest. Right? Hats off to all those that worked so hard to plan that. It was loud. Woo, it was loud.
I second
But
that.
Ms. Lewis here told me that they sold out of glasses, which is a great thing.
Which it's a free event and alcohol isn't the main focus, but it meant that
It meant that people are
that people
there.
were
That's when
enjoying it,
over 700 people just went to even get the glasses. So there were more there. I wandered around and talked to lots of great groups. So that's a really great Moscow thing we have. And it was well run. And I didn't hear people complaining about not being able to turn on the street, even though I almost did because I forgot it was going on and I was going to the Breakfast Club. But yeah, well done everybody on Winterfest and of course the Boise meetings. So I think that's what I have.
Drew, what you got?
Yeah, so went to the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. We had a presentation by Sojourn Housing talking about, I'd say the last 3 years of opportunities they've had to serve the community and kind of some obstacles that they're overcoming. And then about potential areas of where they're wanting to improve. So that was good. And then I'm new to that commission, so getting to know people a little bit, hearing pain points and things to do better on. Then on March, I believe it's March 3rd. Yeah. Next meeting that we had, or March 2nd, I'm sorry. Nils Peterson's also going to be there talking about affordable housing as well. So if you're missing it this week or next week, I can't remember when it is. You can catch the second one. It might differ, it might not. I don't know. Hopefully not too much. And then being down in Boise, wasn't able to attend the Parks and Rec, but looking forward to attending next month and kind of giving an update on that. So second that. Winterfest was also good but loud. So, yeah.
Well, you were right there.
Yeah, I was in my office and I could hear it.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't see you at Winterfest. Dang.
I was there at the beginning and I was there at the end because then I had a docent at the McConnell Mansion.
So,
Goes
oh, well.
back to full
But
hours,
yes.
are
Yes,
they
they're
not?
back to
That's
full
so
hours.
great, Sandra.
But it was fun. So, yeah, everybody went down to the Association of Idaho Cities meeting in Boise, heard from our legislators and governors. For the people who voted that they didn't like the way property taxes were going in town, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Had the airport board. Progress is going on with the new terminal. You can log on to the airport's website, flypuw.com. They've got a live camera there overlooking the construction, so you can have a look as things are proceeding on that. It's starting to come up out of the ground. They dug their daylight basement, as it were, and now we're going to go on, move up to the top part. I had a good chat with the ASUI leadership back on the 18th, sort of an intro to the semester, and encouraged them to do more participation within the city. Also gave a small presentation of welcome at the MLK breakfast on the 21st. And just to compete with Sandra, I had the Cub Scouts in here lined up at the podium talking to them about general government issues. So that's kind of a snapshot of some among many. You got anything, Bill? You're no Gary Reedner, my goodness. So anyway, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session per Idaho Code 74-206, 1F. And the meeting will not reconvene.
So moved.
Second, if you need one.
No, wait, we gotta have a vote.
I
So
think we have to vote.
we have to vote. Drew?
Agree.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we are adjourned at this time, going into executive session.